Hey there. I keep getting the urge from my guides to come on and record some information about the books that I have. So, this first book that I wrote is Embodied Grace, A Woman's Path to Empowerment. And I wrote this, goodness, years ago I published it in 2015. And part of the purpose for this book is just talking about basic ideas of how to claim peace, claim joy, and claim abundance, and really begin to go into your own personal empowerment so that you can create the life that you want to live, create a life that you'll love. And so as I went through this book, um, writing it was really interesting for me because, first of all, I never thought that I would write a book. And then, second of all, it was really interesting how it all came together. Like my guides just made it easy. The funny thing is, this is just basic ideas of how to get you thinking about ways to ask questions to empower you to make changes in your life. And what's really interesting is the introduction is actually something that I took from a real conversation that I had with somebody. And she said, it's so funny. Like you would think that at this day and age, women wouldn't feel like they're still held to these stupid, unreasonable standards. And I was thinking to myself, oh no, girl, I totally disagree with that. Like um, we're held to such ridiculous standards of getting everything done. We're overwhelmed, we're overworked. 90% of the time we're taken for granted. We're not valued the way we should be. And a lot of us are just frazzled, and I'm so glad now looking back that I've learned how to adjust those things in my life. But before I wrote this book and before I did the work myself, this is really how it felt. So like feeling peace and joy and happiness, may feel unreachable to where you are in your life right now. But if it does, just know that you're not alone because so many of us as women have felt that way. So it's really interesting when you ask the question, when is the last time that you felt peace and calm? Like a lot of times I'll talk to my clients and they can't even answer that question. Like, and then you start to feel insecure because we're expected as women, we're expected to be perfect, right? Like perfectly put together, perfectly calm, perfectly behaved, like be the good girl, right? We have to behave. And then if you're single, you have a whole nother standard of what's acceptable and what isn't, and what you should want and what you shouldn't want. And then if you're married, you're supposed to be the perfect wife, the perfect mom, the perfect housekeeper, um, all of those things. And we can judge other women, whether that's in motherhood or being a wife or working mom versus stay at home mom. Like there's so many different places where we get into judgment. We really need to get away from that, right? Because on top of all of these things that we're supposed to do as women, most of us are holding down a full-time job. So let's just add something else, right? Let's just add all of these other things. So, there's all of these different expectations that we face as women, as people. So like, even if you're a man listening to this, I'm not intentionally trying to not include you in this, but it's just because I can relate to the women and the expectations that women feel. Um, with all of that kind of coming at us, it's no wonder sometimes that we feel completely disempowered or that we're just worn out and exhausted, right? Um, but then you stop to think like, who's putting these expectations on me? Like, is it people outside of you, or is it me? Or is it coming from a myriad of all of that together? So really when I'm like writing the examples in this book, it's really just some easy, simple ideas for you to look at life in a different way and maybe start asking these questions that I form in this book to help you as you go through your life. Um, Now, that being said, the whole point of this is to help you step into empowerment, help you step into a life that's free from some of the negativity and lack that we all feel, and really start to know that you can create a life you love, but you have to make changes to do that, right? You can't keep doing the same thing over and over and expect something to change. You really have to start taking little changes for yourself so that you can then create the bigger changes that you want to make. But it all starts in the small things, guys. Like, I'm just telling you that the baby steps eventually add up to this huge, giant leap. Now, that being said, if you get this book in the Embodied Grace community Facebook group, you can download this for free. So this is a free offer. This isn't, you can still buy it if you want. Like, I like to have the book that you can actually hold in your hand and touch. So if you want that, just grab it on Amazon. No big deal. But if you're okay with a download, go into the Facebook group. It's called Embodied Grace Community. And you can go through this book yourself, right? And these are easy steps, guys, that you can apply starting now, starting today. And you can read this like a little bit each day. You can sit down and read it all in one shot. Like, it's totally up to you on how you go through this book. But I would recommend that if you decide to use this to help you change things in your life, get a pen and paper, have a notebook handy or something so that you can really dive into it. Now, some of you are just looking for something extra that you can read and it'll give you a little bit of motivation, and that would be fine. If you just quickly read through this book, it gives you a little bump and you feel a little bit more inspired, and that's great. But if you really want to go deep, if you really want to learn to claim the freedom and the joy and the happiness and the success and all the things that I have learned to embrace and embody and allow to come into my life, the things that I've allowed myself to receive, then you'll want to get really deep in this book, right? So every question that's asked, like, dive into it for yourself and ask yourself those questions and really feel into your heart and really feel into your gut and really feel into your body and how you react and what you think and what memories are spurred up, and really dive into it, and you can change your life dramatically. So I'm going to do a little video series on this first book, Embodied Grace, A Woman's Path to Empowerment, how to claim peace, joy, and abundance to create the life you'll love. Talk to you guys soon.